How's it going, guys? It's TacTixHD here, bringing a video letting you know about the new NHL 2013-2014 season planned conference realignment. I was just going to give you guys my thoughts on them. So as you can see, there's going to be two conferences still, the West and the East, opposed to three divisions. We're now moving to two. In the West, we have 14 teams, 7 in each division. In the East, we have 16 teams, 8 in each division. In the Pacific, we have Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton, LA, Phoenix, San Jose, and Vancouver. Midwest, Chicago, Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, Nashville, St. Louis, Winnipeg. In Central, we have Boston, Buffalo, Detroit, Florida, Montreal, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. And the Atlantic, we have Carolina, Columbus, New Jersey, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Philly, Pittsburgh, and Washington. So all divisions look pretty competitive. I'm going to let you guys know just kind of like a really quick recap, or I guess review of each division. In my personal opinion, then maybe you guys can let me know what you guys think about it. So start with the Pacific guys. I think it makes sense. All these teams are Western time zone teams. I think most of them are Pacific time zone. Some of them might be the Western time zone. I forget what it's exactly called, but should be pretty competitive with Edmonton becoming a much better team. Anaheim's looking good this year. LA's looking good. Phoenix somehow always manages to pull it off. San Jose's looking good. Vancouver, obviously. Calgary's probably the weakest in that division, but it looks like a pretty good, strong division. It should be good for a lot of years with a lot of youth in that division. On the Midwest, as you guys can see, probably Chicago is the powerhouse in that division. Colorado's going to be getting good really soon. Dallas is pretty good right now. Not sure what the future. Minnesota should be good in the long haul. Same with Nashville. St. Louis is looking really good. Winnipeg's another up-and-coming team. So most of the Midwest teams are actually a lot younger. That conference is probably, or that division, sorry, is probably going to be very strong in a couple of years. Only thing that kind of sucks about the Midwest is we lost out on the Chicago-Detroit rivalry. Obviously, they're going to play each other in a year, but not as much as they used to. And that's another thing, guys. As you can see, there's 14 teams in the West, 16 in the East. I don't know why they wouldn't put Detroit in the Midwest, have it 15 and 15. One division has one team advantage, I guess you could say. But I mean, it would make the conferences even, which is I think is more important. As well, Detroit is in Michigan, which is a Midwest state, so I'm not really sure why they put them in the Central. But regardless, we'll move on to the Central Division, guys, which is going to be a very tough division as you look at it. Boston, Buffalo, Detroit, Florida, Montreal, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, and Toronto. The reason Tampa Bay and Florida there is simply because it's to drive ticket sales up in the Florida State teams. A lot of people that are Toronto fans, Detroit fans, Montreal fans, basically like they're arguably three of the biggest hockey markets in the NHL. Toronto is definitely number one, Montreal's number two, Detroit's probably 3 or 4. A lot of people from Toronto, Montreal, Detroit moved down to Florida when they retire, so a lot of people go to see those games, and it's basically just kind of help those Florida teams with ticket sales. As well, guys, you might wonder, why isn't Boston the Atlantic? They're on the Atlantic coast. That's simply just because, they have their rivalries, very, very heated, classic rivalries with Montreal, with Ottawa, with Toronto, kind of with Buffalo, but more on Montreal and Toronto. They don't really want to break that up. Now to move on the Atlantic Conference, or sorry, Division. I keep calling them conferences, my bad. Atlantic Division, we have Carolina, Columbus, New Jersey, New York Islanders, Rangers, Philly, Pittsburgh, Washington. So it's basically Atlantic Division plus Carolina, Columbus, and Washington. Columbus is going to have a really tough time in this division, and they're probably the worst team there. And they're going to really have a tough time. But, if they can do a proper rebuild, their new GM can, get some good prospects in that organization. I think they'll be a good team in the future. Washington's not doing very good right now, but I think they'll be able to compete, and Carolina also should be able to compete. But, I mean, it's essentially the same Atlantic Division besides those three teams, so not a big change there. In regards to the regular season, guys, like I said, obviously they're going to play more games within their division and then also within their conference than the other conference, just, same as it is. I'm not exactly sure what the exact number is, but obviously, Vancouver will play more games against Anaheim than they will against Chicago, and they'll play more games against Chicago than they will against Boston. So the same things there, but I heard that they're supposed to have a home and home with every team, which is really cool. So basically, if you're an Anaheim fan, no matter what, if you're a season ticket holder, you're going to be able to see Sidney Crosby at least once a year. You'll be able to see Stamkos at least once a year. That kind of thing, which I think is really good. And I don't know why they didn't have it before, because it's kind of stupid, You should be able to see at least every player if you're a season ticket holder that season. As well, guys, the playoffs, it's a bit hard to explain, but I'm doing my best with it. So there's still going to be 16 teams making the playoffs, 8 from the West, 8 from the East. That hasn't changed. What has changed, though, is there's going to be 2 wildcard spots. So basically, the top 3 teams in the Pacific and top 3 teams in the Midwest, as an example, would make it. So let's say Anaheim, Calgary, Edmonton in the Pacific, Chicago, Colorado, Dallas in the Midwest. That leaves 2 wildcard spots. Potentially, LA and Phoenix could be those 2 wildcard spots, or they could be Minnesota, Nashville, or they could be LA, Minnesota. So they can be from either division. And now what happens, guys, that's the same for the East, obviously. What happens is the number 1 team in that conference will play the worst wildcard. The number 1 team in the other division will play the worst wild card. So it's like the two division leaders are 1 and 2, no matter what the standings. So say Anaheim has 100 points, Calgary has 99, Chicago has 98. Chicago is the number 2 seed because they won their division. So number 1 division, so the winner of the two divisions plays the worst wild card. The winner of the other division plays number 2 wild card. Second place in the division plays third, and then second place in the other division plays third in the other division. Same with the East. Now to the first round, guys, you're gonna have like a division playoff sort of thing. So let's say, I don't know, let's just say, Anaheim played LA, Calgary played Edmonton. Anaheim beat Calgary, Edmonton beat LA. You'd have Anaheim and Edmonton playing, and then the Midwest you'd have say like, whoever playing. So then the second round is gonna be like a divisional championship. So I think they're trying to make it like even more intense, opposed to just a conference champion and a Stanley Cup champion. Now there's a division champion, conference champion, Stanley Cup champion. So then after that round, guys, obviously you're going to have the conference champions. So let's say Anaheim versus Chicago, for instance, in the West, and then Boston, Carolina in the East. Once those two teams each play, the winners obviously are the winner of the West, winner of the East, and they play in the Stanley Cup final. So not too confusing, but I don't know if I did my best job explaining it. It's kind of tough to explain verbally. So I hope you guys understand it, though. As well, guys, something really cool to see. This is just a map I found, and it's just kind of showing you the new divisions and how they're located geographically, and I think that's really interesting. So as you can see, obviously the Pacific Division is like all Western teams. Midwest, all Midwestern teams. Obviously they include Winnipeg, so one Canadian team. Central, that's probably going to be the division that gets the most watches, or views, sorry. I'm a Wings fan, so I mean, honestly, I don't mind it. I just think for the benefit of the NHL, it'd be better for them to be in the Midwest, but right now, I mean, I can see them play Toronto, Montreal, Stamkos. I mean, that's sick. They're gonna be playing Stamkos a bunch of nights, so I'll be able to go to those games. I'm pretty pumped for that. In the Atlantic Division, as you can see, it's all right there. So in terms of travel, this should help all the teams cut down travel costs, and I think it should be just benefit everybody. The only thing I don't really agree with is probably the 16 and 14 teams, but besides that, guys, that's pretty much all I have to say. So this video went pretty long, but I'm a huge hockey fan, so pretty much anything hockey I can talk about for as long as possible. But that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about the new conferences and what you would change, or just any opinion really. So besides that, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more NHL 13 videos, and have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.